You've got the choice of rewinding to 18 years old or 100K right now. Which one and why? Bitcoin was invented and only worth pennies when I was in my mid-20s. So if I go back and I just buy 1,000 Bitcoins when they are worth less than 10 cents, then sell them when they are worth 15K, I would be a millionaire. Probably hundreds of millions. So yeah, I'm with you if we can keep our memories. 100,000. Since going back in time implies the life I have now may or may not ever happen. Butterfly effect and all that. I don't want to gamble on the unknown and possibly end up in a dead-end marriage or a shit job I hate, etc. I'm happy with my marriage and my kids and wouldn't want to go back to a time before any of them were in my life. It's the kids that do it in for me. I was 18 in the mid-2000s, so I would hop on that Bitcoin and ride that lovely roller coaster to our hundreds of millions. But even if you manage to have an identical conception, dates, etc., how can you guarantee the exact same sperm meets the exact same egg? And then what if I say, the different profile of air pollution in the location you're at changes how the fetus develops? That kid comes out with a slightly different brain chemistry and that affects them as they develop as a person? My kids are dope. I don't want to take the gamble that they might never exist. Even if I got someone else I love just as much, I would always know I was missing those little nutters too. I met my spouse at 15, dating at 17, so I'm relatively confident I could hop onto them if we went around again. Although I think I might go nuts if I had all the knowledge and my spouse didn't. Not to mention if I could handle dating a teenager while I have a life experience of a 35-year-old. Feels creepy. If you'd asked me at 23, I'd have gone back at 18 and been single for longer. Had more fun, not jumped from abusive relationship to abusive relationship, done my entire university career differently, stayed single, taken more notes and lectures, gone out more, spent more time in the library, actually studying, nurtured friendships over yet another abusive, unproductive relationship. But then, as I neared 24, I started dating the guy who would become my husband. After that moment, my life really started, and everything improved. My now husband has supported me to find myself, lifted me up while I fixed my issues, and now we're expecting our first baby. So now, no. After the moment my husband came into my life, I wouldn't dare go back to change anything. As despite everything that happened, if it hadn't happened, perhaps, just perhaps, I wouldn't be here now if it hadn't. And my God, am I glad I'm here now. I'm rewinding. Chance to save both my mother's life and my own future. I'm 34. Context: mother died of class 5 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 21. That year's Thanksgiving, she had been diagnosed when I was 19. I would have had an entire 2 years to convince her not to take the radiation tablet to kill off her thyroid as treatment, which would have set off the evolution of her grave disease into leukemia. That would be the primary mission. Secondary mission would be to ditch my fake friends before they got me into deep shit and expose my aunt for the vulture she is well before my mother and grandmother died. Depends. Do I get to retain my memories as a 50-year-old? Because if so, I'm definitely rewinding to 18 and investing in Microsoft, Apple, Google, Bitcoin, and anything else that blew up over time. If not, I'll take the 100K now and pay down some bills and do some house repairs / upgrades. Rewind. You'd be dropping me right at 2,000. I can make 100K with my future knowledge pretty easily. Shit. Just knowing about Bitcoin gets me to never have to work again. I could also start managing my depression much earlier and probably get my life started and stable significantly earlier. This is probably the best argument for going back and being 18 again. Knowing what issues you have now that'd be eased if you could go back and start working on them sooner would be a huge bonus. Like yeah, you can invest a little bit here and there, but you also don't know for sure how things would butterfly out in that kind of situation. There would definitely be a butterfly effect in your own life. But who's to say it'd just be you going back? Maybe there'd be enough people going back that it'd have a massive butterfly effect on the stock market and everything. If that's the case, your knowledge of the present day will become worthless. Making everything work out the same would be challenging, but I know enough to get things I want. I know where to find my wife, I know when to change schools and what to do, I also know what to not spend money on, etc. Do everything the same from 2004 to 2008, graduate on time, don't take that one class with that one professor, enjoy myself a little more. I know what stocks to pick and when to get out before the crash. I know what stocks to stay in and which ones to buy at the bottom. By 2009, I'd be able to not work and simply ride stock bets, living on margin, until I can buy in bottom level on Bitcoin, once I can as a retirement fund, and Tesla, once it was listed, as a cash out and live well fund when it hit $800 a few months ago. I don't have a kid I have to worry about erasing, so that helps a lot. 18. Assuming I get to keep all my knowledge, my primary reason for this was going to be that I really didn't understand how quickly time starts moving and really squandered my 20s just half-assing certain pursuits, feeling like I had all the time in the world. Now that I made the cavat though, I've realized that I could make an absolute fortune on betting markets anyways. I'm 27, and I would have a fucking mental breakdown if I woke up and it was the morning of my 18th birthday. Not saying I went through anything traumatic or anything, but I worked hard as shit to get to where I am today, and would lose it if I had to do it all over again. I'm way happier now than I was then. I'm in such a good spot in life, and I get 100k, I'm staying for damn sure. I've got kids now, so I wouldn't want to put their very existence in jeopardy by going back to before they were born. My many regrets about the past are nothing compared to my love for them. I'd take the 100k without hesitation. How does this work? Does my current mind with all my current memories get transported by to my 18-year-old body at the time when I was 18? 2004 to 2005, or do I get de-aged in the present day to 18? If it's the former, then absolutely go back to 18 years old. If I have my present memories, I could easily invest in something that I know is going to take off, buy a fuck ton of Bitcoin when it first comes out, for example, or stock in Facebook. I'd easily have much more than 100k by now. If I'm just de-aged to 18 years old, but everything else stays the same, I'd probably take the money. 100k now. I could live a much fancier life if I went back, become rich, have my dream job, make better choices, but I may have never met my wife, and that makes this life perfect. 100k would be the surgery I can't afford for my 11-year-old dog, a vacation for my mom, and a down deposit on a house. If I can retain the knowledge I have now, I'd rewind 18 years. If not, I'd take the 100k, rewind 18 years with intact memories. I can avoid a lot of the mistakes I've made in my life, especially with my health and personal choices. Starting my self-managed retirement fund 18 years earlier would be massive, and the chance of getting in on Bitcoin and crypto in general in the front door would be enticing. If I can't have those intact memories on a rewind, 100k would go a long way to fixing me up financially at the very least, so I'm not scraping paycheck to paycheck. I wouldn't be flush, but I sure wouldn't be stressing where the money for a car repair or an urgent bill is coming from. 18 in a heartbeat. I can warn my dad about his cancer before it gets bad and warn my brother about his back. Only thing I'd be scared of is somehow not meeting my future fiance, but I know where he lived, so I may just have to get more creative. Do I get to keep my current knowledge? And when you say rewind, do you mean go back to being 18 in the year or being 18 now? Edit, I just saw Op said retain knowledge, so I will take 18 in 1978. As others have said, I'd have way more than 100k with what I know today. And 18 to 23 were the most fun years because I was pretty much carefree, had my own apartment, a job, going to college, and partying. 100k. Knowledge of the future would be immensely powerful, which is great, but it would all but guarantee I never met my side and have our kids. It would be a pretty different wife and kids, and I would remember the real ones. Terrible. Anyone who takes 100k over a return to 18 is either A, less than 21 years old, or B, does not realize how little 100k gets you. This would need to be more like 1 million per year that you are over 18 to make it truly interesting. If I'm 19, yes, I'll take 1 mil and stay 19. If I'm 50, 32 million or roll the clock back 32 years? That's a real dilemma. Source, M52. I'm 37 and would absolutely take 100k. Not because I need the money, simply because if those are my choices, I'm taking the money. I have no desire to return to 18. I love my life. Incredible husband, 2 beautiful kids, college degree, great job, awesome friends, etc, etc. Why on earth would I want all that to be erased and have to work towards something similar all over again? I hated the person I was from ages 18 through 25. I was a douche. Money. Because I am who I am now because of my past, for better or worse. And going back does not guarantee I won't mess up in a different aspect of my life that I like now. Heck, going back does not guarantee I will reach my current age, so bring in the money and I will take my share of bad decisions, or good. I have been pretty lucky. I think I have done most of it, but I don't think I could be where I am without some amount of luck. I'll take the cash. Plus, we aren't rich, but I have a beautiful wife that gets me and 3 amazing kids, plus 2 grandkids. I wouldn't trade any of them for anything. I really do consider myself lucky. In turn, we do grow from our mistakes. I don't think I am smarter, but I am wiser. It depends. If I rewind to 18 without the knowledge I have now, I'd rather take the 100k. I'd just make the same F-ups and wind up back here in the same situation anyways. If I rewind to 18 with the knowledge I have now though, I'd smash that rewind button. I could plan it so that I was able to take advantage of the good things that happen, but still avoid the F-ups. Probably the 100K. Honestly, I've made tons of mistakes I'd love to change, but the reality is that changing anything could give me even more regrets. The money, on the other hand, would make a huge difference in my life now. 100K right now. Honestly could use it. If I didn't have great kids and a great wife, I'd opt to go back. Otherwise, I'd make myself nuts trying to make better choices, but still end up with my wife and kids. This is exactly what I have to say whenever these kinds of questions come up. If I wasn't happy with where I wound up in life, it'd be a no-brainer. Go back, buy Bitcoin, sell in September 2017. But then how the hell do I make sure I wind up back here? I'm not the same person I was when my wife and I met, and I'm not sure I could pretend to be that person either. It's a bit of a clusterfuck, so I'd take the 100K now. Thought about going back to 18 so I could see my granny, but no. I loved her so much, I can't reopen my wounds of her dying. Seeing her again and knowing she's gonna leave again will hurt me deeper than now. 100K. I love my life and wouldn't be able to make the same exact decisions that got me to where I am today. Yes, there were some hard times and better decisions I could have made, but they all led me to this moment, and I'm pretty comfortable in this moment. Though I could use 100K. I've tried thinking about this. 18 is such a long rewind. Granted, there are definitely things in the last 27 years I'd like to have done differently, but thinking about all of them, it's incredible how few fuck-ups I could change without losing out on some real benefits that they led to somewhere down that line that I'd hate to miss out on. If I was to rewind to 30, I might take you up on it though. Although, Christ, that's a lot of crap to go through again for the eventual improvements I might make. But 72,154 pounds isn't all that much money either. 100K. I was in a bad place at 18. I've done so much personal growth and worked on myself a lot, so I am in a much better place than my 18-year-old self. I'm in a good place right now. I have a family, I have a boyfriend I love deeply who is a very excellent fit for me, and vice versa. I'm still working on some stuff, but 100K would help out a lot right now with my mom having been laid off, and we just had some damage to our house from a storm, and we could do a small amount of remodeling to fix previous damage. 18 years, no question. I would change a couple life decisions, but ultimately, the goal would be to make some early investments and be a millionaire right now. Even getting in on canopy growth, Tweed early on would have let me retire at 30 with no cash to burn. There are some relationships that I would opt out of. Some really controlling people have found their way into my life in the past, but 100% I would pursue the woman who became my wife. She a good one. We would just be wealthy. Oh, and in that case, she wouldn't have to work while pregnant with our second child, and hopefully would not have been born 3 months prematurely. If I went back to being 18, I would absolutely change the way I did things. Go to culinary school sooner for one. That being said, I've been through some really traumatic shit, and I've improved on my life. I do not want the potential to go through all that pain all over again. I choose the 100K. 18 again. Invest in crypto and GME, then do everything exactly the same as now. Maybe buy a reserve list before the prices really explode. Even though I flunked out of college, even though I'd have to live through my cheating ex again, even though I'd have to live through all my disappointments from fake friends, I'd still get to be with my current fiance, and now I'd have the money needed to actually get a home for us instead of living with her parents. Also, I tried to go to a trade school like 3 years earlier. If it's just a case of rewinding the tape to 18 and playing the same song again, then I'll take 100K. No point doing that shit all over again. If I can travel back and keep my current knowledge, personality, and attitudes, then hell yeah. Let's get that DeLorean up to 88. Interesting question. I take the money, I think. I'm 26 in a very good job with good benefits. I have an amazing girlfriend and friends, and the only setback I have is my 10K debt, which was from me enjoying my life as a 20-year-old a little bit too much. So if I took the money, my life would stay the same. I'd just be debt-free and able to enjoy my whole salary, as well as having a little nest egg of around 80K after I've splurged 10K up the wall on a few pointless purchases. Meeting my wife was such a fluke. Not sure I could recreate it, and would probably bungle it if I did manage to architect that chance encounter. That is the only thing that gives me pause about going back to 18. Would probably take the money. While there are so many things I could change by going back, telling my dad to be more careful of his health, not going into a major I regret, investing differently, not breaking contact with my best friend for so long, I'd take the 100K. My daughter is going to be born soon, and I couldn't manage a world where her and her mother aren't there with me. They say money doesn't buy happiness, but you know there's not a single problem I have right now that wouldn't be solved by having 100K in my pocket right now. I could literally wipe out my student debt, pay for everything I need fixed on my vehicle, buy my girlfriend an engagement ring, and still have plenty left over. This is a tough one. I'm in a pretty good spot financially, to the point where 100K would either just go towards retirement or help pay down the mortgage, making no difference in my day-to-day life. Going back to 18 is tempting because you can live out all those fantasies of getting fabulously rich and living a totally different life, but I miss this life I've built with my wife, kids, friends, and family. I think I'd go with the money and be thankful it means the slightly earlier retirement. I wish I could just be retired already to enjoy my current time to its fullest. Depending on the wording here, if I have to go back in time with no current memories, I'd take the 100K. There would be no reason to believe that an 18-year-old me would not do anything differently, and loss of continuous consciousness would be no different than death. If I could transform my present self into an 18-year-old body and the world would just adjust to match, I'd gladly pay 100K for that. If I maintain all memories in continuity and go back to my 18-year-old self where I was at the moment I turned 18, that one is tricky. I'd have knowledge of a world that is dramatically different than it was when I was 18, and we're decades past from that. I have knowledge of events that are going to occur, so I could of course easily save up from a summer job or tell my dad some secret I know about that I hadn't told my 18-year-old self to convince him I'm from the future and loan me $1,000 to invest in this strange startup bookstore on the internet. Throw in a few more wise investments and I'm a billionaire by the time I'm my age. Screw 100K. But there are downsides. I'd also have knowledge about other events that are going to come. 9/11 hadn't happened yet. I know about upcoming natural disasters. I can't tell anyone about these things without basically giving myself away or making myself look pretty damn suspicious. But I'm also now somewhat responsible for not doing anything. And even then, let's say I do something, how does that change the future? And even ignoring significant historical events, if I do my absolute best not to change the future to any significant degree, how much do those tiny changes really affect the butterfly effect in the future? Could every action I take that's contrary to the original timeline end up changing the future for someone? Make it such as some non-zero number of people who are currently alive would never be born because some interaction with me would change someone random coincidence that greatly affected their future? How many people met their significant other by pure chance? How many kids would never be born because I delayed someone leaving a restaurant by 5 minutes because I'm in front of them in a line that I wasn't in the first time through 2009? That's a rather heavy responsibility to take on. May just go for the 100K to avoid the unintended consequences.